ARK Invest just dropped their Big Ideas 2026 report, clocking in at well over 100 pages. This also marks the 10th edition of this report. Now, they say you can tell a lot about a person by which section they find most interesting, or at least click on first in the Big Ideas report. I'm heading straight to robotics. Make of that what you will. Page 83 for those of you follow along at home. They write, technology frees workers from low productivity and less interesting tasks. For 50 years until 2000, automation and productivity coexisted with a strong and expanding labour market. The divergence after 2000 reflects structural factors, primarily aging demographics and globalisation, not technological displacement. As productivity increased, each hour of labour became more valuable, enabling more output with fewer hours, as living standards continued to increase. Chart on the left here, purple, labour productivity, a very positive trend. Not so for labour force participation rate. On the right, US average labour hours per person per year. We can see a decline in the average labour per year per person over time, reflecting ARK's comments that we've seen more output with fewer hours of actual labour. In short, what we've seen here over time is massive increases in productivity per hour. And it's safe to say that anyone who's working age and has been for at least a year will have seen massive improvements in their own productivity because certain tasks were able to be automated, that deleted some of the processes or tasks, some form of technological innovation, whether it's software, a new service, something along those lines, freed you up to work on the higher value tasks. And if this is not true of you, you're either unemployed or retarded. I've said it before, I'll say it again. If you're not using Grok or choose your LLM daily, not just in your professional but also personal life, to free up your brain and your time, you are doing it wrong. And if you don't know where to start, maybe you could ask Grok what things Grok might be able to save you time and brain power by doing and thinking for you. Next page. Industrial automation is in its infancy. Robot density today is a fraction of where generalized robots could take it. Thank you, Captain Obvious. The shift to generalizable robots should create new job categories that we cannot imagine today. Now, this is a really interesting graph. What we're looking at here is the number of robots per 10,000 employees. The purple here is 2014, 2025, roughly a decade later. Look at the massive leap at Amazon, a 5x increase in about a decade. Presumably most of those in warehouse and logistics type of roles, pick and parcels, fairly simple, boring, and repetitive tasks. In other words, humanoid robots placing a lot of the relatively low IQ jobs, sorry, not sorry, it's just true, at Amazon. That said, it's quite interesting what's happening with technology and AI, not just robots, but more broadly. So we're also seeing massive disruption from LLMs on what previously were many of the quote-unquote high IQ jobs as well. So we're seeing a trend across the board here, Amazon obviously leading the pack. Currently, for every 10,000 employees, they have 6,427 robots. I mean, think about that. Across industries, manufacturing in Korea and the specific automotive industry, very clear trend, massive increases in the number of robots. By the way, the latest available data for most of these industries, the entire manufacturing industry and automotive industries of Korea, China, Germany, Japan, and the US, 2021 in black, 23 in green. So this isn't the latest data. It's not completely apples to apples. Doesn't matter though, the trend is very clear. Over time, more robots will be used, and industrial automation is not where it ends. Automation is likely to create a $26 trillion opportunity. For the past 60 years, automation has involved structured processes. For example, just think of a gigantic arm in an automotive production line, and its only job is to pick up and move a single object. Pick up, move, pick up, move, pick up, move. That's it. That's very structured. One job to do and do it well. So the whole design is specialized, hyper-specialized for that one task. Useless for anything else, just great at one thing. To unlock the potential in industrial and household markets, automation must shift from fixed task specialized equipment to relatively open-ended general-purpose platforms. On the left here, we see global unit sales by robot type. These are cumulative sales. Industrial robots since 1961, accounting for basically every robot ever sold, period, clocking in at over 7 million. Quadrupeds, around 27,000 since 2015. And since 2020, humanoid robots, over 2,000. We are going to see a massive shift here. Humanoid robots, it's prime time, the technology is here, capabilities, the costs. For the first time in history, it's now viable to make generalized, useful, and economically viable humanoid robots. As production ramps up globally, eventually we're going to see this chart with an update, humanoid robots sold, towering over industrial robots sold. Think about industrial robots, by way of analogy, like a computer that can't connect to the internet. For a time, they were the only kind of computers available. But with the rise of the internet, meaning the device was vastly more capable and generalized, could do essentially anything, learn essentially anything. You'd be hard-pressed to find a single computer today sold that cannot connect to the internet. And when I say computer, I also refer to computers you carry around in your pocket that happen to be able to make phone calls, like a smartphone. To continue a little bit further with this analogy, previously a computer that could not connect to the internet could run certain software that you had to pay for and install with physical disks, might be able to do some word processing, a bit of programming, and even play some primitive games. That's about it. Very specialized. Today, a computer, and I do include smartphones in this, that can connect to the internet, can access all the world's knowledge, communicate with people around the planet, can act as a tutor, an instructor, a teacher, allow people to learn what's happening in the world, news, stream content. It's a cinema in your pocket. The number of people today who can afford a smartphone and or computer who don't have one, zero. In the future, the same will also be true of the number of companies and households that can afford a humanoid robot, at least one, that don't also have one. I think you get the point. This is going to be massive. On the right here, ARK's breakdown of the $26 trillion revenue opportunity. What kind of multiple would you put on revenue from humanoid robots if the margin's decent, which it likely will be? It's based on a $32 trillion global manufacturing GDP forecast, 100% uplift in labour productivity, 35% provider take rate. We end up at a $13 trillion manufacturing opportunity. In other words, humanoid robots working in manufacturing. In addition, on the other side, we have the global workforce, currently around 2.8 billion people, each doing an average of around 2.3 hours of unpaid work per day. Think household tasks, those kind of things, with a $12 per hour average global value of time. If people value their time at 50%, that's $13 trillion of household robotics opportunity. A total of 26 trillion with a T. Here we see humanoid robots are likely to be exponentially more complex to operate than robotaxis. And the way that ARK's calculating this, I've kind of been over this fairly recently actually, some comments on one of their podcasts. Robots have more degrees of freedom. A vehicle, it's basically steering either left or right and how much, and accelerating or braking and how much, and that's pretty much it in terms of degrees of freedom. So they have what they call a complexity multiplier, degrees of freedom, control rate, frequency, lower body movements, upper body movements, near field object tracking, number of semantically different objects, degree of unstructured environment capability, task diversity, all of these multiplied together. Then thankfully, they also have I guess you'd call it a reverse multiplier, 0.01x, to account for the fact that humanoid robots compared to robotaxis is about 100 times more error tolerant, e.g. a mistake made by a humanoid robot far less likely to result in a casualty, therefore you can tolerate more mistakes. They still come up with a truly astonishing estimate. The aggregate complexity for humanoid robots is around 200,000 times greater than that of robotaxis. And now the moment you, or at least I, have been waiting for, specific mention of Tesla's Optimus humanoid robot. Compute scaling laws indicate a path toward human-level Optimus performance by end of the decade. And for those of you playing along at home, it's currently 2026 as I record this. We're already into the second half of this decade. By mapping the compute required for Tesla full self-driving against performance gains, ARK projects that Optimus can overcome the complexity ratio, e.g. the 200,000 times we just looked at, by around 2028, conditional on sustained AI compute capacity expansion and ongoing hardware advancements. I mean, those are a given, right? So a big call here from ARK. Human-level Optimus performance around 2028. If you guys want to pause and look at the chart in detail, feel free. The long story short, continued improvement, more AI capacity, ongoing hardware advancements, more capable robots. Now, whether or not it's 2028, 29, 2030, 2032, whatever, the point at which it is viable to produce a humanoid robot with human-level performance and sell that to customers, everything changes. I suspect it will take a while longer for Optimus humanoid robots and others to find their way into homes, only because initially the cost for the hardware is going to be relatively high, much like the early Tesla vehicles, your Roadster, then eventually the Model S, weren't within the means of most people. They had to start somewhere and drive costs down. By the way, quick update, today's Model 3 performance for a fraction the cost of the initial Model S actually has comparable or superior specs, including 0 to 60 time, miles of range, etc. Meaning, initially, these human-level robots will have near infinite demand from businesses because a business can and will invest in a relatively substantial upfront cost if they can get a return on that over a reasonable time frame. Let's say, hypothetically, the first generation Optimus cost $150,000 just for the hardware. I'm not saying I will, but just imagine if it did. But it's human-level performance and can work call it 3 times as many hours per week as a human. Therefore, it's worth 3 times as much as you're paying your average human, whose salary is probably 100 grand a year. Meaning, if you could buy the robot for $150,000 and it can do $300,000 worth of work every year, it's basically a money printer, and you buy as many as you can. Eventually, over time, of course, as the hardware cost comes down and all the cost of the software, these robots will also find their way into many homes across the globe. Back to the earlier analogy with computers. On screen now, this is the world's first digital computer, the ENIAC, the size of a large room, an impressive leap forward at the time. But by today's standards, this thing is dumber than the average Reddit user. Today, an entry-level desktop computer is easily, today, the smartphone you can fit in your pocket offers about 1 trillion times greater price performance than this absolute beast did back in the day. I'll put that in context. 100,000 seconds is just over a day. 1 million seconds, just over 11 days. 1 billion seconds is 31.7 years. 1 trillion seconds, are you ready, is 31,689 years. So the increase in price performance, the equivalent of going from 1 second to over 30,000 years. Moral of the story, humanoid robots will become increasingly better, more intelligent, more capable, more performative, and also cheaper over time. This has very big implications. Next page. Disruptive innovators in robotics include incumbents and pioneers. The market's focus is shifting from industrial giants, which we spoke about before. Imagine the big dumb arm in a production line. It's only one job: pick up and move, pick up and move, pick up and move. And I mean like a fixed arm, e.g. something like this. So shifting from industrial giants to generalizable, embodied AI pioneers, accelerating the trillion-dollar frontier. So we have a bit of a spread of different generalizable robots at the moment. So we'll have a closer look at these. You can see the manufacturer up the top and the name of the robot. Certainly a very interesting aesthetic for the Neo here. AGI bots A2, agility robotics digit. I mean, let's be honest, a decade from now, humanoid robots are certainly going to look a lot sleeker and more elegant than this, but we're still very early days aesthetically. I suspect many of these companies using off-the-shelf components. Hence, I mean, wow. Got the Aptronic Apollo, Boston Dynamics Atlas, the Figure 3. What in the actual are those for? GRX, Tesla's Optimus, which, call me biased, but clearly the most elegant and sleek design. UBTEX Walker, Unitree G1, and Xpeng's Iron. And hang on, wait a second here. Why does it have tits unless the target market for this particular product is, I'm not even going to go there. Is this real? Hang on, let me just check on, that can't be. Well, hello, it's me again. And after some digging on Google, didn't take much yet. Turns out the Xpeng Iron actually does come with a rack. Why? And I hope the answer isn't what I think it might be. Extremely bizarre design choice, maybe specifically to garner attention. I would have assumed if you're making humanoid robots, you intend on manufacturing them at scale, they're going to be relatively androgynous. As long as they have the humanoid-ish form, they'll slot into a humanoid world. I don't see any meat clubs dangling off any of these bad boys. What the actual... Now, call me uncreative and a midwit, but I would have assumed if you're designing a general purpose humanoid robot, the form would be fairly androgynous. What matters, it's roughly the same height, has the same number of limbs, roughly the same arm length, features in the hand, legs, vision, so it can move through a world that we have currently designed for humans to operate in, meaning unless your specific target market is Reddit users, you probably don't need a rack or a hammer. So unless Xpeng is going for that market, why would you do this? Anyway, back to the actual point of this video. The humanoid robot opportunity, truly massive. ARC estimating $26 trillion in revenue, split evenly between industrial use and at-home use. I'm not sure if they were including this particular at-home scenario. Let me know if anyone from ARK Investors watching. Was that in your model? God. The humanoid robot opportunity is astronomical. So big that I think most people hear these kind of numbers thrown around and their brain just switches off. Says, no way. Can't be that big. Ignore. And remember, ARK expects human-level Optimus performance around 2028, which over the long term is basically tomorrow. So do not ignore. Want more content? Early access? bunch of perks? Click the links in the pinned comment. AG1 has been part of my daily health protocol for almost half a decade. It's packed full of vitamins and minerals and helps me fill in nutritional gaps while supporting energy, digestion, and immune function. It also has prebiotics and probiotics to promote gut health. I take my health very seriously, and so should you. Try AG1 today by visiting drinkag1.com/SMR or click the link in the pinned comment and enjoy a free welcome kit with vitamin D3 plus K2 and AG1 travel packs. That's drinkag1.com/SMR.